In this segment, we're going to take a look at copy, paste, duplicate, and cloning. So to get started, I'm going to come over and choose my Create Ellipse tool, and we'll just draw a simple shape. Right click to let go, and the shape is automatically selected. Now, up at the top, on the top menu, I have Copy and Paste. So we'll choose Copy, and imagine that this ellipse was now added to an imaginary clipboard that's inside your software. And when I hit Paste, it basically takes that object from my clipboard and puts it down right on top of the original. And if I just click and drag, you can see that I can move it, and the original is still here, and so is the copied version. And I can hit paste as many times as you want and create as many new copies of that ellipse as you might like to. So that's copy and paste, and they're fairly easy to use. One more thing I could note would be that once something's pasted onto your clipboard, it will stay there even if you start a new design. So for example, if I hit new right now and choose to start a new graphic and say next, and it's basically just a new blank design, but if I hit paste, there's the ellipse that I had made in the other design. So that's one way that you can take designs from take parts of an embroidery design and use them in another one. Anyway, now that I have my design on my screen, we could also talk about duplicate. And to create a duplicate is more or less the same as creating copy and paste. It's just a little bit faster and sometimes a little more precise. Basically because you can do it in one step. Now, I'll show you the difference. So again, I need to select the object to be able to duplicate it. And in the case of duplicate, what I actually do is left click and drag. Now, when I left click and drag, all I'm doing is moving my object. So if I let go, it just simply moves it. To do the duplicate function, what I need to do is left click and drag, and then while I'm still holding it, I right click. And did you see the new little symbol that appeared on my screen? That's the duplication symbol. And now if I let go, I've made a duplicate of the object. And I can do the same thing again, just left click and drag, right click over the object, there's the duplicate symbol, and let go. So the difference here is I not only duplicate the object in one step, but I also, first of all, it does not get copied to my clipboard, and so you can still have something else on your clipboard and then make duplicates. But when I do that this way, when I click and drag and then right click, the new object is automatically inserted where I want it to in the design and not simply just over top of the first one, which if you're using copy and paste, you need to be careful that you don't put 3 copies of the same object on top of each other and not realize it. Another way that you can use the duplicate function is actually from the tools options. And so I'll just open up my tool options, and maybe to make it easy, I'll just stick my push pin so that they stay open and show that I have a duplicate button here. And so if I select an object and click on duplicate, it adds that second object, and again, just like copy and paste, right above the first one. So now I can click and drag and not right click because it's already been duplicated, and if I click duplicate, it'll make a new copy of that one, and so on. So we can just keep making duplicates of our objects. Now I said I'd also talk about creating clones, and creating clones is a great way that you can modify a group of objects at the same time. And so for example, maybe what we'll do is just pull one of these select and move one of these ellipses to the bottom, and I'll get a little closer on that one. Now, before you can create a clone, you need to go to your Edit drop-down menu and choose Add New Objects as Clones. So when I turn that on, now I'm ready to create a clone, but before I do, I'm just going to show you under the Edit drop-down menu. It puts a checkbox beside this, and this is something that I can turn on, and then I might also need to turn it off again if I don't want to keep creating new objects as clones. So while it's turned on, if I do the same duplicating function, so I left click and drag, I right click to duplicate it, and then I let go. Now this is now a clone of the original object. And to demonstrate that it's a clone, what I could do is I'll select the original object, I'll choose the Edit Shape nodes, and I'll grab on the little ellipse node that it was made, and I'm going to change its shape to be something different. And as soon as I let go, it not only modifies the shape of this object, but it modifies the shape of the cloned object. And so that's the one way that you can create multiple versions of an embroidery design or object, and then make clones of them. And that way, if you need to make any edits to the design, they'll all be modified together at the same time. So that's a little bit about creating copy and paste, duplicating objects, and then cloning them. And remember, if you're done creating clones, you can come up and choose to turn that Add New Objects as Clones off. And now if I left click and drag, I'm still in Edit Shape Nodes, I need to go to Select. Now if I left click and drag and right click, I get a new object, but that new object is not a clone of this one, and so therefore if I reshape that object, these ones move or change together, but this one will not. So that's a little bit more about creating copy, paste, duplicate, and creating clones.